Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Lori Tucker. You know, there have been a lot of big stories in the headlines this week, and this week we're joined to talk about all of them by former U.S. Ambassador to Poland and, of course, Knoxville Mayor Victor Ashe to bring some local insight. Thank you for joining us. It's always good to see you.
Well, it's good to be here with you, Lori.
Oh, thank you again. And let's begin with some local issues. We're going to talk about the Richard L. Bean Juvenile Detention Center. What do you make of Brian Bivins' departure as interim director?
Well, I think it's a continuation of the issues that we've had. And the amazing thing is that Mr. Bean was there for 30-some odd years, and for the first 33 years, no one said a word. This didn't happen in 2 or 3 years. You have to ask yourself, where was the county mayor, where's the county commission? Why did they not know anything about it? Why did the juvenile judge not know anything about it? And if they didn't, why? It's sort of the Howard Baker question: what did you know and when did you know it? But apparently they didn't know anything. And now they're in a fast mode to clean up. But these are not going to resolve themselves overnight. I mean, just putting a fence around the area to make sure it's secure, or that people are not going in who shouldn't be in and not leaving who shouldn't be leaving. Adequate pay for people. I think Mayor Jacobs has a real problem. Even though he doesn't run it, the problem has been no one's running it. So we have what we have. And everyone acts shocked, but you have to ask yourself, members of county commission, did they not know about it? They knew the Bean Center existed.
How could they not have known that there
That's
were
my
problems?
question. I don't know the answer, but maybe they have an answer.
Interesting, and I'd like your thoughts as we continue on this subject, the exchange of emails between Bivins and the Knox County Mayor's office, where Bivins really voices concerns over what he refers to, and you alluded to this, 52 years of mismanagement.
Well, it could very well have been, and I mean, obviously some things have been changed, but those are the easy things to change. And Dwight Vandevate, I guess, has been assigned by Mayor Jacobs to help do the nitty-gritty and deal with that. But I think they have to look at, where should that be? I'm not sure it should be in the sheriff's office. The sheriff is now delayed it 6 months. He's leaving office, so the delay is now going to be with the next sheriff. We don't know who that is.
Right, and Dwight Vandevate, going back to him, does have some experience, obviously, long time in law enforcement.
The question is, should it be with the sheriff?
That's a good question, and one wonders if the sheriff's office really wants to take it on.
Well, I think the answer is no, they don't, but they don't know a way out of it.
Yeah. What do you think should happen next there? If you were in charge of this, what would you do?
If I were in charge, I would step back and get some people who are knowledgeable of dealing with youthful offenders and say, give me an example somewhere, either in Tennessee or Kansas, that works.
Yeah.
And then what does it take and how much money does it involve? And my guess is the majority commission is willing to do what needs to be done to get it on the right track. But I'm not sure they know what to do. I mean, members of the commission are part-time. They're not full-time employees.
Yeah. So get a plan that works and go with it. All right, we'll be watching this and see what happens. We may have to bring you back on and see what you think about it. Now let's move on to Washington, where the House Administration Committee held a hearing on banning congressional stock trading this week. We'll get your thoughts in a moment on this, but first, here is Congressman Tim Burchett. This was on Wednesday.
This is a sewer. This is created by man, and it needs to stop. We've, for years, Congress has been using hard-working American taxpayers' money to get rich. Dadgum, it's got to stop. America knows what the heck's going on. Everybody wants to knock Pelosi. Heck, she's not even in the top 10. Get on that Unusual Whales site. This is pathetic, folks. We all know what's going on. Congress knows what the hell's going on, and it needs to stop.
All right, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it shouldn't happen, and obviously it should stop, but the fact is everyone's talking about it stopping, but it's not stopping. And, our two senators, one of whom is running for governor, they need to step up, and where do they stand on this issue, Blackburn and Haggerty? The House is almost evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans. You would think this would be a one-issue that they could agree on, but the fact is there are probably 40 or 50 members of Congress who are engaged in stock trading. That by itself is not illegal or necessarily immoral, but it lends itself to terrible optics, and depending on the case, it can be utterly inappropriate and shouldn't happen.
Perception is reality in many of these cases. All right. We also want to ask you about the tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela. We could go down the list of everything that's going on right now. Do you agree with what's happening in terms of going after cartels and what this is doing to further our relationship with them, and a means to what end?
Well, I think the total absence of transparency is troubling. I mean, some 20 some odd ships have been blown up. Some 80 people lost their lives. Nobody knows who they are. We don't know if they're part of a drug cartel or not. I mean, even Charles Manson got a trial before he was convicted, and I'm not saying that should necessarily happen here, but on the other hand, we don't need to be in a land war with Venezuela, even though we would win it. And how many American soldiers would lose their lives? And how do you justify, what's the transparency of removing a ship that has 8 or 15 people on it, and they're all killed, and you don't have a clue who they were? Yeah. And you don't know if you got the right people, the wrong people, but even if they were the right people, they're entitled, at least under our system, to have their day in court. What
about a comparison between the military buildup here and Panama in 1989?
Well, it's somewhat difficult to compare because we had the Panama Canal that was American-owned before we transferred it, and so the late Senator Howard Baker was very much involved in making sure that happened. And today the Panama Canal is working fine. It's not an issue. No one worries about it. But obviously, drugs are not only coming from Venezuela, they're coming from other places, Mexico, for example. They can come from anywhere the drug cartels can get them into the U.S. by drones or whatever they do. And I think we need to be on top of it. But I think Senator Rand Paul has some very valid comments of how do you justify murdering someone and you don't know who they are or what they did.
Good points. All right. I told you we're going to jump around a lot. Let's go to the next issue. What about the president's new peace plan for Ukraine? You know, he indicated he was giving Ukraine until Thanksgiving Day to agree to a peace proposal from the U.S. to end the war with Russia.
I think this is another case of Donald Trump being a good friend of Vladimir Putin. Ukraine wants freedom, and to tell people who fought now and have lost thousands of lives, of course the Russians have lost even more, along with North Koreans and Chinese and others who have assisted them. But the fact is, Ukraine is a freedom-loving country. We should be supporting them and giving them ultimatum that their Thanksgiving gift is to basically trade away about 15% of the land of Ukraine that is back to Putin is fundamentally wrong. And we will pay a price for that. If that in fact happens, Poland is next, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, the Baltic countries that are adjacent, Belarus. And I think it delays the day of reckoning when we have to look at what in fact is going on. Do we really, isn't it in our interest to have a free, independent country in Ukraine as opposed to a proxy state or a portion of it controlled totally by Vladimir Putin? What about all the children that have been taken? Pope Leo recently talked about it. Melania Trump has talked about it. And these are children that no longer have parents and are placed in homes that they don't have a clue who the so-called parents are.
At the heart of a lot of these skirmishes, you go back and say, what about the kids? What about the children?
Well, you should.
Yes, you should. NATO, I've got to ask you about that. Is it a paper tiger in all of this?
Well, only in Donald Trump's mind. It shouldn't be a paper tiger. NATO goes back to President Truman. It has been an important, when I first went as ambassador to Poland, Poland had just joined NATO and joined the EU. Most of the NATO countries are on board with possible exception of Hungary and on occasion Turkey. But we need to strongly support NATO NATO countries need to be sure that they contribute appropriately. They are increasing their donations to their military. Poland, frankly, as a percentage, gives more to its military than we do to our military, as a percentage.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure a lot of people were aware of that. Okay, let's jump to this really quickly while we have time. On Friday, President Trump suggested that U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, as well as military courts, were looking into a Democratic lawmaker's video about military orders, calling the people in the video, quote, traitors who should face the death penalty. Pretty strong statement there. What's your reaction?
I think it's just typical Donald Trump that most of us should dismiss what he's saying. I mean, you can't go out and murder people. I mean, you're going to give them death penalty before they've had, you know, I think it's unfortunate that the president feels necessary to say stuff like this that is totally distracting, totally removed from the issue at hand, and does not serve the country well.
What is he trying to distract people from, in your mind?
Well, we might start with the Epstein files. I don't know what he's trying to do. Maybe he doesn't know. I don't know, but it's distracting.
Why is he saying that he is signing this to release all of that? What do you make of that? Because at first
Well,
he didn't want anything to do with it.
I think it's a recognition of reality. The Republicans have walked away from him. This is the first time between term one and a year of term two that the Republicans have said enough's enough and we're not with you on this. And I think he recognized reality and, you know, if it's going to pass anyway, we'll make it unanimous, which sort of one vote, it was unanimous.
Very interesting.
But the real
Forced
question
his
is,
hand.
where's Pam Bondi? Is she going to release it all? And what is she going to redact, if anything? And hopefully she doesn't redact and does release everything there. But, you know, it's hard to put your measure on Trump because what he says on Friday afternoon may be different from what he says Saturday morning.
I know. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's always a pleasure, Lori.
Thank you. We'll call you back again.
Okay.
All right. We appreciate it. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We will bring in our panel of pundits coming up next. We are back in 90 seconds. Stay with us. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. A moment ago, we heard from Victor Ashe, and now let's bring in our panel of pundits to weigh in on what he had to say. Joining us today, George Korda, Craig Griffith, and Michael Covington. It's good to have you all with us, George. Always good to have you come.
Thank you.
And join us. Yes. Okay, we're going to start with the newly released email exchange between Brian Bivins and the Knox County Mayor's office. Go ahead, Craig.
Well, as I said last week, I think that facility needs to be closed until the county can come up with a safe situation that enhances the experience of the children that are there.
Then where are you going to put the juvenile offenders?
Contract with surrounding counties. You know, there are other ways that you can detain these individuals. But the emails this week only reinforced my thoughts that this facility needs to be closed until the county takes it seriously, until the county understands that for, 30 years, everyone turned their head and did not, a succession of mayors, a succession of juvenile court judges did not look at what was going on, did not ever understand that the state wasn't certifying this facility for a reason. So I think that now they need to close it down, take the steps that are necessary to make it safe and secure, and help those children that are there break the cycle of violence and poverty and things that they're in so that their lives can be better. I don't see a solution to it right now.
And Larson J. is kind of heading this committee up. What does that say when they can't have a good relationship with a man whose job for years was to help run a detention facility? He comes in and you can tell his frustration through the emails.
When I was a spokesman of the state government, one of my tasks was to handle, the governor's press secretary would send me to handle emergencies in the corrections department. And the assistant commissioner for corrections once told me, nobody gets elected worrying about prisons. And this is a form, a first cousin in any event. So what happens is, when you have one person in charge, and he's a good, decent man, but when you have one person in charge for decades, what happens is people who are at the echelon to observe and report and make changes, they tend to think if we're not hearing anything bad, it must be okay.
No news is good news.
And they don't want to get into that, into his turf anyway, because then that starts a separate battle of its own. So everybody's hoping, gosh, if Juvenile Detention Center, all this can do is hurt us politically or financially. Hopefully it'll just stay quiet. Well, it's not quiet. So that means somebody's got to make a decision. Somebody's got to say, here's what we're going to do, A, B, and C. Start on it today, because the sooner that starts, the faster the focus will depart.
And as I talked about with Victor Ashe, let's circle back to who we really need to be thinking about here, and that's the kids having a place where hopefully there can be some rehabilitation going on and addressing some other issues that got them there in the first place. And a lot of people say that has been forgotten here. And Bivins in his email said, I'm not getting any support financially as well.
There is too much here that we still do not know. And what troubles me is the same thing that has always troubled me. Are the 25 or 30 young people that are domiciled there or incarcerated there, are they getting a fair shake? Are they getting taken care of? Is their mental health being addressed? Is their physical health being addressed? That facility has the capacity to hold maybe 200 individuals. There may be 25 or 30 at best that are there on a daily basis. But there are a ton of young people that come in that facility and are out the next day. I think that there are things that can go wrong for young people who are not accustomed to that environment. Even 24 hours is a long time to be incarcerated in a facility that is not well run, obviously. There should not have been as many things that Mr. Bivins encountered that did not get addressed immediately. If there are things that are immediately needed, we should have the money to make that happen. And as Craig said, if we don't, close it.
That's what I was going to ask you all. Do you agree with Craig's assessment?
I do.
Shut it down.
If we do not have an individual that can go in and get their arms around that situation and get the resources that are needed and put them in play, close it. Get those children somewhere, those young people somewhere where they can be safe and taken care of and adjudicated properly and get to a place where they can live their lives. It's not complicated, but we've got to get people in there that are confident they know what they are doing, and we don't have that now.
George, what do you think? Shut it down if they can't find a fix?
Well, like, where are you going to send them? And making contractual arrangements with other counties is going to take time. It's going to take money. It's going to take people putting their names on a contract. So the simpler solution in the short term is opposite shutting it down, is going in and saying, all right, who's in charge right now? I'm asking.
And should it be the sheriff's
Who is
office?
on the flagpole for this?
You say no.
It should
Michael.
not be the sheriff's office because the sheriff's office does not want that responsibility.
So nobody is. And when nobody's in charge, nothing's going to happen. So I don't know if it's Glenn Jacobs. I don't know if it's a sheriff. I don't know who it is. Looks at somebody and says, you get this straightened out, and you've got X amount of time to get it done. Let me know what you need. Until that happens, this is all just theoretical talking.
Is there any way the state could step in? I mean, you look
No,
at
the
DCS
state-
and it's so rife
DCS
with problems.
doesn't operate those.
No.
That committee that Larson Jacobs had, there were questions asked about that, and that's apparently not an option. So, yeah, I mean, here we are. It took a whistleblower to blow up the situation there. The oversight committee that existed under the Bean administration was obviously ineffectual. The oversight committee, it seems now, that's under the new agenda, seems ineffectual. Everyone wants to do it on the cheap. And I think really probably, the only thing that's going to get their attention is the multi-million-dollar lawsuit that's coming. I mean, I have not seen more data for a lawsuit challenging that facility than in the state report or in the emails that came out last week. So, you can either wait for the lawsuit or take some action.
Craig's
And
right.
I think it's up to, Mayor Jacobs. He's the head. He's the guy.
In the end, it all comes down to money.
Yeah. And like Bivins said, they got $80 million in their rainy day fund. Let's use some of it.
Makes sense. All right. We'll table it there. We're going to talk more. There's a lot more to come on Tennessee this week. Stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. Do you hear folks talking in the background? That's what I love about having our pundits with us. The conversation goes on even when we go to break, but we're going to switch gears now from the Bean Juvenile Detention Center. We'll talk more about that in the weeks to come, and months, and maybe even years, who knows. But switching gears, let's hope not, again, for the kids' sake. But switching gears again, this time to the Epstein files. So I want to bring you all back. We're going to talk with George first. Let's start with you. What do you make of President Trump's calls to release the files? Talk about a 180.
Well, he talked about it in the campaign. Here's what I think. This is just my opinion. That for 4 years, the Democrats had, presumably, allegedly, in their hands, information that would have destroyed Donald Trump, if it exists. The man they called Hitler, the man they called a fascist, the man they called a threat to the entire world. And they had the information in their hands. And what did they do with it? Nothing. Not a peep, not a sound, nothing. And I think one of two things is going on now. One, Trump knows he didn't do anything, and he's going to let the Democrats just boil around on this until some Democrats get exposed for having had relationships with Epstein, which is starting to happen. Or he's involved somehow and now doesn't really want it out, but I don't. If it had existed, and I hear all kinds of excuses for why Democrats didn't really, it was against the law, it wasn't, they couldn't do that. I've been in politics long enough to know, if you're on the inside and you know this stuff, you pick up the phone, you call a reporter, you meet them maybe in a parking garage in Washington, like Deep Throat did, and you say, I can't tell you exactly, I can lead you. The idea that Democrats did nothing with what could have put Kamala Harris into the White House is absurd.
So you're saying something did exist. You believe something did exist.
No, I don't know whether it does. I doubt it exists. I doubt it exists, or Democrats would have pulled the trigger on it. That's what I think.
All right. What do you think, Greg?
Well, if you have to go back a little bit farther than George went back.
He went back to Watergate, so how far are we going?
Well, it was the conservative blogosphere that was calling for the release of the Epstein files. The same people that supported Donald Trump. They thought there was a Democratic coalition that was having pedophiles meet in a pizza restaurant in Washington. And they thought the Epstein files was going to expose all this. And so those were the people that pushed Donald Trump into saying during the campaign, yes, release the Epstein files. Yeah, and Pam Bondi came in and said, well, I have the files on my desk and we're going to release them. And then miraculously, they turned around and said, no, we're not releasing them. So they irritated their own base.
And people question whether Pam Bondi even had those.
Right.
To begin with.
But let me just say that, the Epstein files, there's nothing in there that's going to reduce the cost of my ground beef. There's nothing in there that's going to reduce the cost of my drug health care insurance, which, by the way, is going up 200% in 2026. There's nothing in there that's going to reduce the cost of housing for people. It's a diversion. Why is it a diversion? Because it's the script for a scandalous Hollywood movie. It's a script for a movie that looks at the lifestyle of the rich and famous, peeks behind the doors. And that's why this has gained, I think, is one of the reasons it's gained so much attention over these years. So I guess now, you're at the point of let everyone read it and see what conclusion they come to, because I agree with George. With those files in the possession of the Biden administration for 4 years, something would have happened if there was something that could have happened. And we didn't see it.
All right, we have about 30 seconds left. Michael, I'll give you the final word today.
Sexual deviancy is a crime. Those who knew are criminals. Those who didn't know are lucky they weren't involved. As this information gets out further, I hope that prosecutors are ready to do their job, because what has transpired here is criminal.
All All right. On that note, I want to thank you all for being with us today. Everyone,
Thank you, Lori.
enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon, and we certainly hope you have a happy Thanksgiving as well. Thanks for joining us.
The Vols won
The
yesterday.
views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Next Star Broadcasting.